So I was just scrolling on Tumblr when I came across this post. Ducky Sprouts, this amazing illustrator, says that Batman is an optimist. In fact, not just an optimist, but the biggest optimist in the universe. And after reading this post, I couldn't help but feel the same way. Sure, he's grumpy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't love Gotham and humanity with all he has, that he doesn't believe that people can be redeemed despite how much he's been spat on and whacked in the face for his efforts. He's literally magical girl levels of Delulu with just a different appearance, with a brooding appearance. Now, I believe this with my whole heart, okay? But that doesn't mean he's never acted and had traits from the other two, that he's never been a bit of a realist and been a bit of a pessimist. So in this video, I want to talk about why Bruce Wayne is an optimist. He is, while having characteristics of a pessimist and a realist as well. But just before I get into it, hi, I'm Inozia. I use psychology and humor to discuss fiction, and if you like this video on my channel, please subscribe and comment and like it and all this stuff so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't toss me aside like a used tampon. Okay, let's go. So, are you optimistic about how good this video is going to be? Well, whether you are or you aren't, it's irrelevant because the biggest optimist in the room is usually always going to be Bruce Wayne. But what is an optimist? What is a realist? What is a pessimist in comparison? Well, the easiest analogy I could think of to start off with is just the cup half full. You know, that's an optimist. The cup half empty, pessimist. And then the cup has, I don't know, 250 mils in it, realist. Because it really represents that optimists have a positive outlook on life, pessimists have a negative outlook on life, and realists are people who love to think logically throughout their life. But these descriptions are pretty vague, and often there's a little bit of a crossover when we're talking about these things. I mean, are you not logical just because you have a negative viewpoint? You know, if you're thinking, I don't know, we're not gonna get another Minecraft movie, that's probably optimism. We are never gonna get a good live action Avatar The Last Airbender adaptation if the creators are not inside of the production team. You could say that that was being pessimistic, but you could also say that that was being logical, because the past times that the creators have not been a part or a significant part, or they stepped out of the production team, the writing team, directing team, creative team, their adaptations sucked ass. So then if we're just looking at the cup analogy to define it, then we're just like, oh well, it's both, right? And then maybe you're being optimistic because actually no, I don't want that, so you're actually being optimistic, and it's all confusing. So I'm not going to just rely on that to define what we need to understand about optimism and realism and pessimism. I'm going to look at psychology. According to Weber et al.'s studies in 2007, these three beliefs are dissimilar social concepts. Realists were socially adaptable and they excelled at setting goals, but they were uninspired. They reacted to situational demands rather than acted, if you understand what I'm saying. Optimists were cheerful while being amazing at completing goals, whether they were in a controllable or an uncontrollable situation. They, in comparison, acted rather than reacting. Sorry, that's for later. But you see, the case is already making itself. But anyways, pessimists, they were more dysfunctional and less useful in the process of setting and completing goals, since they didn't think that they could have a meaningful impact on the world around them. And they might actually abstain from reacting or acting because ultimately, to them, what's the point in either? These studies majorly use concepts to basically ask the participants, like, how would you react? How would you feel? What would you think? In this like controlled experimental condition. They didn't actually put them into dire situations, but also made them think about threatening and controllable, uncontrollable, lighthearted, dark situations, depending on which study was going on. But they collected a lot of data, and this data really does tell us that optimists are the most motivated trusted, the most enduring, and the most positive people, and that defines Bruce Wayne to a T. It's true that Bruce Wayne consistently has issues, but not because he's a super emo creep who beats his kids and has no brain, no, but because at his core, Bruce Wayne is just a little dude with a huge childlike heart. And that actually is more consistent in his depictions across all media than him beating his kids. Bruce believes in life. He is kind of like this self-insert idealistic hero who just wants the best for the world. He doesn't kill his villains. He saves people, even the ones he hates the most, because he believes in living, and he doesn't think that death could ever be the answer. I actually watched a short, I think most people did see, of this random guy. It almost was like an interview. I don't think he was a writer or anything, but some random guy in a seemingly a comic shop talking about how Bruce wouldn't kill because of his trauma, and I think it was a very, very good take. And I'm not just saying that because I can piggyback off of his point, even though I can piggyback off of his point, but he's right. I think Bruce is afraid to kill. He doesn't think it's something that he can do because it is against everything that he is used to rationalize and to get over and overcome his trauma, or deal with his trauma, even though he hasn't dealt with it. He can only think death is wrong. You know, that's the problem with that situation. Not that Joe Chill was you know, fundamentally a wrong person, a stain on society, or that his parents were fundamentally wrong people and should never be alive, but because death is wrong. Death was the problem that killed his parents. Cruelty was the problem that killed his parents. And so he doesn't want to kill Joe Chill because that would just amplify everything that he's been through. And in fact, he can't, because he refuses to become the outcome of his parents' death to another person. He can't kill, basically. And that's very much because he believes in the living. He believes in life, like I said. He also believes in his loved ones, and maybe it doesn't seem like that, but consistently he's shown that he does trust and have faith in every single person he allies himself with. Great example is in Infinite Crisis. The only reason he didn't give up and join Golden Age Superman was because Dick Grayson was a good man in both worlds, because he believed Dick Grayson would pull through, and so he was able to resist. And that's just one of the examples that I can tell you about how he trusts his family to be strong in his absence and to be strong beside him. I can't remember the names, I'll put them up here, but there was a Red Hood issue where he was investigating this drug, I think, and he was in Gotham, and you could see that Bruce was trying to trust Jason. It was a long time coming, and again, whenever I talk about them, both of them were in the wrong, even though I still feel like the balance goes to Bruce because he was the adult figure, the parental figure. Jason wasn't innocent either, so it was a really good moment for them to start to trust each other, and it didn't get broken in the issue, by the way, so it's good if you want to read it. But we see that Bruce, even after everything that's happened, can be able to trust him. And obviously just that one batfamily issue in, what is it called? I don't remember any names, dude. When I'm talking and yapping, I just mention shit and I'm like, yeah, you know that one, right? You know that one. You guys are like, what? I'm like, don't you know? Can you see what I'm saying? You know that one, right? Like, bitch, you're not Professor X, I'm begging you. Yeah, Detective Comics issue 1027, where we see all of that family and how they work together and how they have that synergy, they have that energy, and that's because Bruce started it. He basically started all of their training from scratch. He is the source of that, no matter how domineering he can be sometimes. Not to mention, by the way, I feel like I have a lot of Dick examples because I love their relationship. But all of the thousands of times Bruce has been like, Dick will be better than me. He's gonna be better than me. Like, I believe in this guy. Dick is gonna be better than me. I don't want him to be like me. I want him to be better than me. Every single time he said that. you probably drink every time he said that. You get my point. Consistently, he believes in his family. Obviously, Alfred as well. Obviously, he's mentioned that before. And last but not least, he doesn't just believe in life, you know, philosophy, and his family, you know, his loved ones and his allies. Even Superman, the Justice League, he believes in them as well. They're better men than me. They're better women than me. Stuff like that. He also believes in the system. And it's crazy. You call him crazy. You would call him crazy for it. But he just does. It's hurt him 1,000 times, and yet he still works with the police. He still stays on the side of the law he can manage to be on. Do you think that realist Bruce Wayne is gonna be staying on the side of the law? No. No, bro. No. Do you know how easy it could have been for Batman to be an anarchist? Like, do you actually understand how easy it could have been? He's a billionaire. He has every capability to break the law in a suit, in a blazer. Do you think if this guy is dressing up like a bat at night, that it's harder for him to not break the law or break the law? Because it's harder to do the first one. Okay, I promise you. He is choosing to not break it. He's choosing to do that. It's an active choice because he believes in the system, not for any other reason. Not for any other reason. Billionaires break the law all the time. Not for any other reason. They break the law as much as poor people do, I bet you. Not to mention the fact that even during the day, he sinks money into the city, hoping that just one person will get the money and the results. Just one person in need will get that. You know, the police, businesses, it's just another problem he gets for believing in the system. And by the way, obviously, as Batman, he stalks people, he tapes people, breaks and enters, assaults people. Yeah, that's breaking the law. But I'm talking about, like, he could obviously kill people, but forget that. He could blackmail people in many more ways than he does. He could change his identity many times. Bribe people. He could bribe people. You'll never see Bruce bribing people, but he could bribe people. Easy lemon squeezy, bro. He could create a criminal empire so that he can make enough money for Batman so he will never get that problem. There's just so much he could do, but he doesn't because he believes in his mission and he believes in these three things, and they keep him sane because his skills and his skill set, you've already seen, I'm sure someone has seen Bad Batman. He chooses to limit himself and to do things by the book as much as he can, as much as he possibly can. And that is just another way he is an optimist. So Bruce Wayne thinks that people can change for the better, that they are better, and that things will be better no matter how bad it is now. And that is why I call him an optimist and why I completely agree that he's an optimist. But as you might notice, this video is not over yet. And that's because I have some further follow-up questions to this conclusion that I myself has made. Why have there been cases where he has thought completely without emotion, where he has prided himself to think without anything else influencing his mind, where he's seemed almost cruel, almost robotic when talking to people, and that's across mediums? And then why have there also been many times where he's genuinely believed there's no hope? Some writers thinking that he is only Batman and will only be Batman. My identity is Batman, it's not Bruce Wayne, it's Batman. Well, because he's not just a ditzy optimist. Let's start with the realist side, the realist characteristics that Bruce has. Going back to Weber et al. In 2007, I'm just going to remind you of something. They said that realists excel at setting goals and optimists excel at completing them. And this suggests really that using realism when creating your goals and then being optimistic while completing said goals is the best way to be successful. And that's exactly what Bruce does. A lot of his goals tend to be set with deep thought, with deep consideration. He's not becoming Batman, for example, because of the bat crashing into the window. He was thinking of this for ages. He's thinking, what kind of symbol should I be? I should be a symbol, but what kind? You know, I should learn martial arts. I should do this. He just was pursuing that. And so he set his goal realistically, thinking, I need that. I need this. I need this. I need that. And then, as you see, as his mission starts as Batman in year one, I will become a symbol that will keep criminals in check. I will become a symbol that Gotham hopefully eventually doesn't need. He is optimistic. He is hopeful. He is believing, if you understand what I'm saying. And that's why I think one of the reasons he becomes so good at his role. He sinks his teeth into it. He goes until he can't stop, because he is completely convinced by his previously set goals, which he thought out, and he is now able to take off with that as a solid foundation. Then there's him being a father. You know, he wasn't planning it at all, obviously. When he's considering this and thinking about it, talking to Alfred, I don't know if we can do this, you know, he's unsure, but he knew he had the resources to support the child, but he was kind of scared, very uncertain, but eventually took this realistic point of view and thought, hey, I can support this child. You know, I don't think it fell into either or. I wouldn't say that he was being pessimistic when he was thinking about Dick. And I don't think he was being optimistic either when he was becoming a guardian and protecting this child and getting him out of juvie. I think truly Bruce was thinking anything is better than the situation Dick Grayson is going to have to deal with if I step aside and trust the system. So see, he changed his mind and he decided, you know what, I'm not going to be a lone wolf anymore. I am going to take in this child. I'm not going to trust the system, and I'm going to do this. So that decision making, that setting of goals, that I would still classify personally as something realistic, something realist, you know. But then of course moving forward, he was becoming optimistic in many different ways, but more so in how Dick would turn out. Not necessarily, I wouldn't say, about how he would perform, but he was always sure that Dick was destined for greatness, that Dick was gonna be amazing no matter what he did. He believed in his child. He was happy for his child. So there we're seeing the optimism peek through again in terms of fatherhood. So he set the goals, did it, and he was optimistic that no matter what happened, at the very least, Dick Grayson would be okay, because Dick Grayson's soul was something to be believed in. And last but not least, killing. Valuing life is being optimistic, you know. Wanting and believing in the living is being an optimist. But choosing not to kill, that decision, that goal to not kill in a professional lens as a symbol, that was realistic as well. That was something that came from logic too. Because choosing not to kill is different from choosing to save everyone. Choosing not to kill was practical. There's morality, you know, when can I call myself a good human being if I'm breaking the fundamental law of being a human being, to kill each other? Then there's police mentality. You know, if he started killing a bunch, it would be much, much harder for Gordon to rationalize working with Batman, and it would have made everything crumble. Then there's public perception and corruption, and you would think that Batman wouldn't care about that too much, but he does. That's the whole point of him being a symbol. He needs the criminals to fear him, but the public to trust him. If he kills the criminals, if he takes them out of the equation, then the public starts to worry about who is he judging as criminals, you know, who is he intimidating. They need to be able to trust him so he can get information from them, so he can make them feel safe, so he can save people. Otherwise, if he just kept killing, it would be very hard, especially in the beginning, was watching over the whole city. It would be very hard for him to keep that same clean but scary persona. His becoming Batman, his becoming a father, his choosing not to kill, these are all realistic goals, realistic things that he's actually done, very easily observable in many different mediums, right? And it shows how he is able sometimes to really switch off his hopefulness and his ideas of belief in life, and everyone is good, and my family is great, and the system's good, I believe in it, and the city, of course. And he is able sometimes to just really think logically, even though he is an optimist. He is able to balance his hope and balance his fear with logic. But when he had no hope at all, did he despair or did he find a new one? No, he despaired like you would expect. Now, what did he do this over? What was he pessimistic over? Because that's really what we're talking about. Well, first and foremost, the Joker. Batman has admitted multiple times that he doesn't actually believe the Joker can change or that the Joker is actually worth anything. A lot of the notable examples go to after everything that happened with Barbara and Jason. In the Three Jokers conversation, other conversations, he has mentioned that he's like, this guy might be my exception, but he can't let him be his exception, but he still kind of feels that way because pessimism is about feeling again. We're feeling things again. He does feel like he failed Jason and Barbara for allowing them to come into contact with people like that. And he despairs because of the damage that is done to their relationship. Gordon's, Jason, even Dick. Because Joker's life and Joker's being spared, I suppose, is something that kind of weighs over him. And it's something that he feels almost like it's a black hole. I don't want to kill, I can't kill, because he's not a pessimist. But even an optimist like Bruce sometimes just really feels like the core source of a lot of my problems with certain relationships and even conflicts in my own ideologies exists because the Joker exists. And so I guess maybe should I? But he will never do that. He'll never do that because of the reasons I outlined. But it's really like one of the only times you ever see him waver because he's getting so negative about it. And then what else is he extremely pessimistic about? Well, himself. Doesn't love himself very much. Very sad, very sad. For instance, when Dick and Bruce are talking at Alfred's grave in the Nightwing run, can't remember the issue, they talk about how Bruce is a very bad judge of character. I like to reference this because it's very, very true. Bruce isn't very understanding of his own character. He thinks he himself to be a bad person. He says, I'm a bad man, not a good one. You shouldn't trust me, things like that. He says stuff like that a lot, and it's because he is pessimistic about who he's become and what has happened to him. He probably thinks he's died basically at the alleyway and that now he's just kind of living for a mission. He's not really a person. Depersonalization. He struggles to really kind of believe in himself a lot. He struggles to even see himself rationally a lot. Same with the Joker. Like, he doesn't see himself or the Joker as what they are, as people who are got problems and issues, maybe can overcome, maybe can't overcome. He sees them both kind of as failed projects. Hence why he really wants to be the only one who's Batman and the only one who is committing their life to the mission, I suppose, in the same way that he is at the very least. And why sometimes he really pushes people away, Bruce Wayne murderer, just as he is leaving the cave. Who is my dad then? Who is Richard Grayson, the adopted son of, and then Bruce can't respond to that properly because he doesn't have a good enough answer. Those things just really add to why Bruce just isn't, he doesn't believe in himself. No. And why other people have to keep telling him, hey, we like you, because he doesn't get it. So yeah, tragic hero. Overall, Batman is a very optimistic person who has used realism to create goals and has felt a lot of pessimism towards mostly himself and maybe people who he feels like he is responsible for that are bad, like the Joker. And this is what makes him a hero, that balance. If he wasn't an optimist, I doubt any of us would see him as a figure to kind of become like, or to follow, or to take inspiration from. To be written more like Red Hood, and we know that Jason is a pushover who's been written terribly and should just be the anti-hero he was destined to be, but they won't let the villainy or the hero go. It's either I'm not mad anymore, I promise, I'm not mad, or I'll fucking kill you guys. It's like, where's the middle ground, please? And if he didn't have his realism or his pessimism, he wouldn't be complicated. He wouldn't be deep. He wouldn't have a reason to not dress up like the magical girl he is with a 40-year-old face. And that's my take. If you want to do one thing, then subscribe. Check out my videos and comment down below if you agree or you disagree, so we can have a chat about it in the comments. And then I say quirky goodbye. Jannyeong. Yeah. I feel like when I started writing this video, I was like, no, he's a realist, right? Like, a pessimist, I could see more. But then I read anything on him being an optimist, and I'm like, how did I not see this? Like, my third eye opened. Like, how did I even think he was anything but an optimist? Like, there's not even a question. So, yeah, I hope I've kind of shown you that, because, realistically, he's the biggest optimist out there. He's insane. Like, he is literally a magical. That's why I keep saying it in this video. Like, Tokyo Mew Mew, nothing on this guy. They have nothing on this guy. Mermaid Melodies? I mean, replace it with Bruce Wayne Tremolies. This is why I write down my jokes, bro. This is the problem. I edit my own videos, so I keep this shit in. But I shouldn't. I'm so hot. Is it? Okay, anyone in the UK? Is anyone feeling hot in the UK right now? Because the temperature right now, I swear, it's not even like hot. It's not like my country hot. But for the UK, it's pretty warm, bro. It's up there. It's at the very bottom of hot for me. And I don't need it, especially not when I'm recording. I'm not sweating, but I feel stifled. You know, when I'm talking about Bruce Wayne being an optimist, I feel stifled. So I'd appreciate if the sun just relaxed a little bit. But at the same time, we don't get much sun. I mean, we do get sun, but we don't get as much as we could. So anyways, bye. Bye, Jannyeong.